Something just leaked from inside of one of the biggest companies in the world, and I couldn't wait to share it with you. It's actually not a scandal. It's a memo from the CEO of AT&T that was sent internally to their employees, and it wasn't supposed to be public, but it is. And now we can see it, and I want to discuss it with you because it gives us a rare, very unfiltered look into what's really being said at the top about the future of work, and more importantly, about you. The memo is bold, it's brutally honest, and it sets a tone that might just become what I think is the new normal in corporate America. So if you've been frustrated with leadership or feeling disconnected at work, or even wondering what employers are expecting from you or saying about you, this message pulls back the curtain on all of that, and it's going to make you think. So let's unpack what was said, what it means for all of us, and why three simple words, capability, contribution, and commitment, might define your career from here on out. So let's go. At the heart of the memo was this really strong statement. We are evolving from a model where loyalty, tenure, and conformance drive compensation to one that is market-based, focused on capability, contribution, and commitment. See, this isn't just about raises or promotions. It's an entire shift in how companies measure value. It's no longer about how long you've been with the company or how well you followed the handbook or the company rules. Now it's about what can you do? What are you bringing to the table? And are you fully bought into the mission? See, quiet quitting and bare minimum Mondays, these are a thing of the past, at least at AT&T. There's no participation trophies given out at their award ceremony. Now, before you leave me, we're going to discuss this in balance, but there's a significant culture change, and it's not just happening at AT&T. Look at the news every day. You're seeing more and more corporations adopt this culture. This is a broader shift in the marketplace, and for many people, it's very uncomfortable, especially for those who've built careers on tenure and stability. See, we adapted to a new world, a brand new way of doing things during and after COVID, but things are changing again. It's been a slow shift, but here we are in another major shakeup that's happening in the entire marketplace. And regardless if that feels fair or not, it's real. Now, the biggest friction point in all of this is AT&T's return to office policy. See, they're not just easing into a hybrid model. They're not just offering flexible work ways or work schedules. They've told employees, you're coming back, and you're coming back 5 days a week. And you can already guess how employees have responded to that. They're pushing back, and I understand that because people have gotten used to flexibility, to more casual work environments. Some are also saying that this is being done on purpose. They're saying this is a strategic way to quietly push people out who prefer remote work. That's a big statement. But this is the common tension that causes the most friction in the workplace. Since COVID and our flexible work models, our work from home and our hybrid models, this has become the biggest issues for employer and employee. And again, I understand this, but there are a lot of employees who are saying, hey, we thrive during the pandemic, and they've adjusted their entire lives around flexible work. I know people who have sold their homes just to travel because they believed they could work from anywhere. But here's the pill that may be hard to swallow for so many, especially AT&T employees. The CEO didn't just clarify the company's position. He drew a line in the sand. Here's what he said. If a self-directed virtual or hybrid work schedule is essential for you to manage your career aspirations and life challenges, you will have a difficult time aligning your priorities with those of the company and the culture we aim to establish. That's company corporate speak for we're changing this. You either get on board or you may need to go somewhere else. Now, for what it's worth, at least it's honest and at least it's clear. I know for some it feels really harsh, but at least you know where he stands. And that's the beauty of peeling back the curtain and having this inside look at this leaked memo because we can already see where corporate America is going. Now, speaking of, we know the CEO's stance, what about the majority of their employees? Not only do we get to see what corporate is saying, but let's take a look at what's being said on the ground floor with the employees. So the company issued a employee engagement survey. It was company-wide, and that was actually the basis for this memo. This memo is in response to what all the employees said. Over 99,000 employees responded to this survey. So that gives really an incredible inside look at what's happening in this corporate culture. Now, 79% of employees said they still feel committed and they still feel engaged with their work. But here's what's interesting. That number, the 79%, still fell short of the company's goal. The desire of the company was for a larger number of their employees to feel committed and engaged. And we know that this number is declined, or this percentage declined since their previous survey in 2023. 79% of engagement sounds pretty high, but the context matters. We don't know what the percentage was in 2023, but we do know that there's a decline from the previous number, and there's a failure to meet the company's internal benchmark this year. So that signaled enough concern for the leadership to respond to all of their employees in this situation. So what are the reasons that the decline is happening? Why do we have employee disengagement or dissatisfaction? Why was there a decline? Well, there's actually 5 specific areas that were stated in the memo that the employees said were their reasons. And by the way, the reasons that they say, we talked about many of these way back in season 1, episode 4 of the Mind Your Business podcast. And I addressed how many companies could address these needs. So go back and take a look at that. But here are their requests. One was a clear understanding of how to advance in their career with the company. I am continually amazed at the number of employees that say, I just want to know how I can grow with the company. How can I move from point A to point B? How can I move from this level to this level? I just want to advance. And there are so many corporate organizations, businesses that don't lay this out clearly for their employees, and it leaves you feeling stuck. So leaders, give them a clear understanding of how to advance their career. Another desire was better tools and resources so that they could do their jobs appropriately. Another one of AT&T employees specifically was improved office facilities. Many of the employees said there weren't even enough desks to work at. So if they return to the office, there's nowhere to work. Many of them said, we don't even have enough parking spaces. We have nowhere to park our cars. Could we at least get a decent facility to work at if we are returning to work? Many people said a healthier work culture. That's a big one in many organizations and businesses of all sizes. Many employees said they wanted personal support for their well-being. Look, employees just want clarity. They want a healthy place to work, and they want an infrastructure that will support it. So you've heard both sides. What do you think? What is your opinion on employee and employer and their stances? Now, I realize it's hard to take your personal feelings out of it. I know that you're either an employee and you're feeling the burn from your employer, or you're an employer and you're feeling the burn from your employees. But what I think makes it so difficult is the fact that both sides are right. So if you're wondering what I think, my opinion, I think both sides are right. Employees are asking for trust, they're asking for tools, and they're asking for transparency. And in all fairness, at least in this memo, the CEO is trying to provide that. Here's what he said. This message is my attempt at transparency. Many of you have asked for it, and I hope it helps clarify where I stand. That's something that's not present in all leaders, so it definitely has value. At least he's trying. Here's another important component. He explained that these changes aren't about optimizing the company that they have. And this is important information. This is an important inside look. It's about building the one that they want, not the company they have, but the company that they want. And that's a very different mission. They aren't trying to simply tweak policies, but redefine them. His goal is for the company to become a top-tier place to work, with proof of the company being listed in the top third of the Fortune 100 for employee engagement. He set a goal internally for all of the employees to know, this is what we're working for. We want to be in the top third of the Fortune 100 for employee engagement. This is why I say that both sides are right. It's very clear. It's clear from employees, it's clear from employers, and they have a shared mission and a same goal. And so I believe that both of them are right because the goals of the employer and the goals of the employee, they're both valid. But the trick and the important part is if the two can walk in partnership. Because if they can walk in partnership, everyone wins. I say this often. I think employee and employer should be a partnership, working together, working for the good of everyone. And I know that that's hard to achieve, but that should be the goal. Maybe you're wondering the same thing that I've been wondering. How do they plan on doing this? Well, it appears that they aren't just looking at this from the top. So in other words, in most shifts of culture in corporations, they have a top-down approach, but this doesn't look to be played out exactly like that. The CEO said that local leadership, not just the corporate headquarters, would be responsible for setting clear expectations and then personally guiding all the teams through every change that was coming. This means that there should be local support. That means on the ground where the employees are, there should be someone locally in those offices, team leaders, to support employees and help them navigate all the changes. But here's what I understand. Like everything else, everything rises and falls on leadership. So if local leaders aren't aligned with the mission, I already understand it's not going to work. So let this be a lesson to all leaders. This is where companies win or lose cultural buy-in. It is at the team level. So leadership has a huge responsibility in leading and supporting these changes because the overall organization can have a goal. It can have a mission. There can be something shared with everyone. But if local leaders are not leading in such a capacity that supports their teams, it is not going to work. But it's also not just the leaders. Employees, you also have a shared responsibility. Most employees go, well, it's not my problem. I just work here. I'm clocking in, I'm doing my task, and I'm clocking out. But if we're going to walk in partnership, there's a responsibility from everyone. Here's what was said in the memo about that. I have to ask you to commit. Commit to adjusting your own behaviors and actions without looking to your right, to your left, or above to see what everyone else is doing. The expectations are clear for everyone. It has been stated. And to make sure these expectations are being met by all employees, they're going to be watching more closely. It was stated in the memo that they're not just going to use the normal employee metrics. They're going to do that. But in addition, they're going to be monitoring patterns, participation, and interaction, which means there's going to be greater accountability on the employee level to make sure that all of this is moving in the right direction. Now, I know it sounds like micromanaging, but it's actually a measure, a way to know if the shared desire for culture shift is actually working. So, if the patterns and all the participation and all of the things aren't aligning with the mission, then you know it's an employee problem, it's a leadership problem, it's a manager problem. You can pinpoint the issue so that everyone is accountable to achieve the desired outcome. So, here we are. Employees are being asked to trust corporate leaders. I understand in a world where that trust is almost non-existent. Who trusts the corporation, right? Leaders, they're being asked to deliver clarity, consistency, and the infrastructure to support it. And that's in a world where sadly, most leaders just don't care about the people that they employ. I know many of you who tune into this channel often think that I'm taking up for the employers, but I understand that there are a lot of leaders that do not care about the people they employ. And that's why I'm encouraging a partnership. And I also understand everyone in this case is being asked to shift how they define value. And that also is important. How do you define your value and what you bring to the table? The value of the employer and the value of the employee. This memo has outlined a shift that's not going to be easy. Some employees, they're going to feel angry. Some will feel uncertain about all the change. And then some people, they're just going to leave. But many of them will stay. And for those who do, they'll have to make a decision. They're going to have to decide to cooperate, even when they don't agree with everything, or they don't understand the changes as they're happening, or they're feeling the friction. They'll have to decide if they're going to fight the change and resist, or if they're going to leave and find a better fit somewhere else. Now, I believe and support that everyone is entitled to their own answer, and even the CEO acknowledged that in the memo. But I think there is one that moves all of us forward, even if you don't work for AT&T. There is one decision that I believe can help us all, regardless of where we work. And honestly, I think the CEO has already given us that answer. I think it's found in their new standard. The new standard at AT&T, and probably many other companies soon, even yours, is this: capability, contribution, and commitment. And these are the three ingredients that I personally agree with 100%. So let's take a look at each one of these and how they can help you succeed wherever you are and in whatever you do. So first, let's look at capability. Ask yourself, what are you great at? Or what is it that you're still learning? This is a practical tip. Identify one skill that will make you indispensable to your team. One skill, something that you can do, something that you can bring to the table that no one else can do, something that you are capable of. You can begin taking a course, you can shadow someone, or you can ask them to give you assignments that will help stretch you or make you grow. See, one employee in customer support learned AI troubleshooting tools during their off hours. They just learned all about AI and how all the tools could help troubleshoot in their environment. And then 6 months later, this employee, she was leading training sessions for her entire division. See, capability turns effort into leverage. She had something that she could offer, something only she was capable of. Now look, she went above and beyond. She learned this on her own outside of work hours. And some of you tuned out on that. I'm not going above and I'm not going beyond. I actually talked about that in our podcast as well. But let me encourage you in this. She did something that made her capable of doing something no one else could do, and it made her valuable, and it helped her stay in her organization and make a difference. Number 2 is contribution. Contribution. What impact are you actually making? How are you contributing to the company that you're in, to the role that you play? What is your contribution to the greater good? I know you're thinking, well, they're not doing this or they're not doing that or they're not. But look, in these scenarios, when they're trying to reshape the culture, you're only responsible for yourself. You can't control them, but you can control you. So what impact are you actually making? What is your contribution? So here's a tip for you. Track your wins. Keep a monthly list of projects, the outcomes, and ways that you moved the needle forward, even if it's in small ways. Because when you track it, when you know it, and when you can show it, it helps show all the contributions, all your capabilities that you have and that you're bringing to the organization. There was a junior analyst who created a dashboard that saved their manager 10 hours a week. No promotion, no raise, but it changed their value overnight. See, even quiet contribution speaks loudly. Here's what I'm saying. When you are able to bring value, even if it's not a promotion, even if it's not a raise, but it may raise your value. So when opportunity presents itself, it gives you the ability to step into it because you have proved your value. Now, to address Again, I'm not going above and I'm not going beyond. If I saved my manager 10 hours a week of something that I had created, I better get a promotion and I better get a raise. But here's the reality. You're not working for them. You're working for you. You have raised your value even if it's not inside of that company. And then another thing is commitment. Are you all in or half out the door? Are you in on this change? Are you in on the culture? Are you in where you are, or are you already half out the door? Let me give you a tip here. Decide weekly what you're showing up for. Just decide when you go to work, when Monday rolls around, what are you showing up for? It's not about pretending to love every policy. It's not about pretending to love every decision and everything that's done from management. But it's about being fully engaged with what it is that you can control. A remote employee asked for a transfer to come back into the office, not because he loved the commute, but because he wanted to coach the new hires. See, the commitment that he had was rooted in ownership. So this is the reality. Many of us aren't willing to go above and beyond. Again, we have some limitations to what it is that we're willing to do. But when you decide what it is, your buy-in, what you're showing up for, what is it that you want to bring, are you fully engaged? This employee said, hey, I'm going to make room for myself. So the three areas, the benchmarks that these organizations, these companies are looking for, you get to decide if you're going to engage, if you're going to thrive, if you're going to grow, and if you're going to contribute to the new changes, the overall good for everyone. The world of work is changing. It just is. The world of work all around us, there's another change coming. And not everyone is going to like it, and not everyone is going to stay. But for those who do, this is your moment. For those of you who are going to give it a chance, who are going to go into it with a positive attitude, who's going to say, I'm going to be a part of the positive culture shift, this is your moment. So whether you're leading a team or you're building your career, this new model that we're taking an inside look at, it asks something more from all of us. It asks for capability, not just clocking in, contribution, not just your presence, and commitment, not just compliance. The rules may be changing, but for those who are willing to grow, they're still full of opportunity. You can still do so much if you just engage and do the best for everyone. Hey, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of AT&T's approach? Is it fair? Is it flawed? Is it familiar? Have you already given up? Or are you willing to lean in when this change finds you? I'd love to hear how your workplace is navigating this new era of work. So engage with me in the conversation below. And until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep building what matters. I'll see you on the next one.